Right now, at this exact moment, you are lying to yourself. You watch videos like this, you read books, and you plan your future, genuinely believing you want to make millions. But your brain is secretly working overtime to ensure you never do. In fact, if $1,000,000 were dropped into your lap tomorrow, your subconscious mind would treat it like a biological threat and find a way to bleed it away until you're safely back to your current net worth. You don't have a lack of strategy, you have a survival mechanism masquerading as logic. You are suffering from an invisible psychological virus that you mistake for intelligence, and it is quietly killing your potential every single day. Look back at the last major financial decision you made, or the risk you avoided because it didn't feel right. That feeling wasn't wisdom, it was the middle-class safety reflex, a hardwired, deeply conditioned instinct to prioritize emotional comfort over absolute dominance. The terrifying truth is that to scale from where you are right now to the realm of millions, you cannot just upgrade your habits, you have to commit a form of psychological murder. You must surgically amputate the version of yourself that craves security and replace it with something cold, calculated, and deeply unsettling to the average person. If that thought makes you uncomfortable, then you are exactly who needs to hear this, because we are about to pull back the curtain on a secret psychological transition that separates those who struggle for thousands from those who effortlessly command millions. And by the end of this, you will realize that your own mind has been your greatest warden.
Think about the way you view a steady income. To the untrained mind, a predictable paycheck or a stable client contract feels like a shield. In reality, it is a psychological anchor holding your head beneath the water. This biological craving for predictability is a trap designed by systems that require your compliance to function. When you seek a safe harbor, you are playing a game designed for losers. Consider a person who saves meticulously, tracking every penny, denying themselves small pleasures to build a modest cushion. They feel responsible, even superior. But what they are actually doing is worshiping at the altar of scarcity. They are letting fear dictate their reality. When a high-stakes opportunity finally presents itself, an opportunity that requires aggressive, unblinking capital allocation, that safety reflex kicks in like a physical spasm. Your heart rate spikes, your palms sweat, and your brain floods you with highly rationalized excuses to wait, to research more, or to walk away. You choose the path of least resistance because your nervous system values comfort over sovereignty. But true wealth is only found on the path of most resistance. To cross that burning bridge, you must stop seeking permission from traditional institutions, from your peers, and from your own internal doubts. You must begin operating not as a citizen looking for shelter, but with the cold, unyielding autonomy of a private sovereign entity.
But here is where the psychological mutation becomes even more demanding. If you want to hold millions, you have to develop a cold, calculated indifference toward volatility that would paralyze an ordinary human being. Imagine waking up to find that 30% of your net worth has evaporated overnight due to a sudden market shift. The average person experiences this as a literal physical trauma. Their stomach drops, adrenaline surges, and they plunge into a state of panic, making impulsive, destructive decisions to stop the bleeding. They see a drawdown as a personal failure. The sovereign mind, however, views that massive drawdown simply as the cost of entry to the stadium of the elite. You must reprogram your nervous system to look at a sea of red metrics, not with panic, but with the detached, high-level data processing of a machine. It requires a rigorous emotional protocol that replaces terror with strategy. Think of a surgeon operating on a critical patient. If the heart rate drops, the surgeon doesn't scream and run from the room. They analyze, they adjust, and they execute. Capital is not your emotional safety net. It is ammunition. When you hoard it out of fear, you are keeping your soldiers locked in the barracks while the war is being won on the battlefield. Every penny of stagnant, idle capital sitting in a low-yield account isn't safe. It is a wasted soldier that died in its sleep.
This brings us to the core infection that is likely running in the background of your mind right now, the scarcity virus. This virus tricks you into believing that wealth is a limited pie and that your primary objective must be conservation and saving. Look at how you talk about money in your quietest moments. Is your internal dialogue focused on how much you can keep or how aggressively you can expand? The middle class is obsessed with cutting expenses, while the truly wealthy are obsessed with multiplying assets. This is a profound Machiavellian shift. When you operate from conservation, you are constantly playing defense, and no one ever won a championship by never crossing the half-court line. The fear of losing what you currently have prevents you from acquiring what you actually deserve. It is a subtle form of self-sabotage. You settle for the minor, predictable win because it gives you a quick psychological dopamine hit. You close a small deal, you get a slight raise, or you make a safe 5% return and you celebrate. You feel successful. But you have just fallen victim to the enemy of greatness, which is mediocrity. You accepted a handful of crumbs when you could have owned the entire valley.
To break this loop, you must adopt the predator's patience protocol. True scale requires the discipline to reject the easy short-cycle plays. It means mastering the art of the long-cycle move, where the payoff may be months or years away, but its magnitude will shift your net worth by entire orders of magnitude. Think of a predator hidden in the brush. It doesn't sprint after every field mouse that scurries past just because it is hungry. It sits in absolute agonizing silence, ignoring the minor distractions, conserving every ounce of energy. It waits for the singular, generational opportunity to present itself. This is not passive waiting, it is a state of high-tension readiness. While others are chasing fleeting trends, jumping from one shiny object to the next, burning through their capital and attention for miserable returns, you must have the stomach to sit in the dark, watching, calculating, and preparing to strike with absolute devastating precision. When that generational opportunity appears, the average person hesitates because they are untrained for the scale of the moment. The predator, however, executes without a single shred of emotional friction.
As you step into this new reality, the final and most brutal transition occurs. You stop merely having money, and you begin possessing the unshakable personal authority that dictates how your capital interacts with the world. Your financial status ceases to be a scorecard to impress others or a metric of your self-worth. It transforms into what it was always meant to be, a clinical tool for total self-determination. You build a psychological fortress around your mind and your assets that makes your vision completely immune to the shifting social, economic, and political winds of the mid-2020s. You no longer react to the world begins to react to you. But this level of sovereignty demands a price that most people are simply terrified to pay. It demands that you accept total, unmitigated responsibility for every single outcome in your life, with no excuses, no scapegoats, and no safety nets. You are entirely on your own, standing at the helm of your own empire.
So look inward one last time and ask yourself the question that your mind has been running from your entire life. If you stripped away the excuses, the societal conditioning, and the comfortable lies you tell yourself every morning, are you actually terrified of poverty? Or are you deeply, profoundly terrified of the absolute cold freedom that comes with commanding millions? The choice to remain where you are is a choice to keep your safety reflex intact. To break the cycle and claim your sovereignty, you must be willing to let that old version of you die. Stay ahead of the herd, lock in your focus, and subscribe to Shadow Emperors so you never miss the dark psychological blueprints required to conquer your reality. The next shift is coming, and it will not wait for you to be ready.